there's an article in Crisis Magazine, and the title is, Should the Catholic Church Embrace Homeschooling? Well, my answer is a resounding yes. But it's written by J.C. Miller. Mr. Miller is an attorney and father of 7 children. He's from Michigan. And he writes this with some facts that can help the church decide. But I don't have a wavering answer. I have an unwavering answer. The answer is absolutely yes, because we're in an evil society for the most part, which has filtered in to certainly public schools and more Catholic schools than not, and even private schools. So absolutely, yes, we should have homeschooling. However, parents need assistance, and most parents, there's 2 main reasons I've come across why parents don't want to homeschool or are afraid to homeschool. One is that it would, the more awful reason is that it will encroach on the parents' free time, social time, exercise clubs, whatever they want to do, going out with friends, because the children are home and they're going to be stuck at home. That is diabolical, I may say. It's not just unchristian, it's diabolical. God has given us, he's given parents to be stewards of their children and to raise their children at home and to raise them in the nurture and practice of the faith. The second reason many don't, well, there's several reasons, but those I think are the main 2 that I've come across. There might be a single parent. She must work. She can't be at home. There could be other financial or medical or physical reasons that are very, very legitimate. But when a parent will not homeschool her children, or parents will not homeschool their children for their own convenience, their own education, their own well-being, physically, recreationally, whatever it is, that is diabolical. I will be that strong on it. And the other reason that parents face is being afraid they're going to ruin their children because they weren't raised in the faith, and maybe they didn't even graduate college, or maybe they did, but they don't remember anything and they don't think they're qualified to teach their children. To them, I say, better for the children to be with you and have a good Christian upbringing than for them to have a PhD in education of this world's diabolical system. So I'm going to read this article from Crisis Magazine, which was published 2 days ago. And J.C. Miller, Mr. Miller, who wrote it, says there's a lot to celebrate about Catholic schools, with parishes and parochial schools around the country annually celebrating Catholic Schools Week, graduations, and other rites, R-I-T-E-S, of passage. Less attention is paid to Catholic homeschooling. Now, he doesn't speak about the problem or the status of many Catholic schools, but he says that less attention is paid to Catholic homeschooling, even though more and more Catholic parents are choosing this option. The data indicates that homeschoolers are much more likely to embrace a religious vocation and more likely to retain their religious faith and practice in college. It's time for Catholics to seriously examine the impact of homeschooling on the church and what we should do in response. Writing earlier this year in the Wall Street Journal, Father Robert Sirico wrote about how homeschooling saved a dying church and school with a hybrid program 2 days a week in a classroom that brought more people into the school and parish. I've had a child enrolled in that specific program, and it works well. My diocese has noticed and even included in its 5-year plan that the diocese would consider part-time Catholic school options to include more homeschooled students and families during portions of the school day. It's truly outstanding in the sense that they'll get more activity, socialization, a broader range of subjects, perhaps. However, if being included, even in the Catholic schools program, exposes your children, this is my commentary, to immodest stress, cursing, poor language, children who could care less about the faith, I wouldn't do it. Mr. Miller says, of course, other dioceses do not necessarily think this way. San Diego's prior controversial bishop, which was Bishop McElroy, who is now Archbishop McElroy and Cardinal. I'm sick about him being appointed to D.C. San Diego's prior controversial bishop banned Catholic homeschooling groups from using church facilities because, quote, such usage can undermine the stability of nearby Catholic schools, end quote. That's just insane. Conversely, Mr. Miller writes, non-Catholic schools can use parish spaces on a case-by-case basis. The diocese explained that, quote, parish-run schools and religious education programs are primary means by which the church accomplishes its teaching mission for children and young people. Assuming that, end quote, assuming that is true, are these the most effective means? The available data actually suggests that homeschooling by members of the church is an effective way of accomplishing that teaching mission. And I can second that. I can tenth that. Professor Ryan Berg of Graphs About Religion recently obtained a trove of interesting homeschooler data. The Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, nicknamed FIRE, F-I-R-E, which is known for advocating for free speech on college campuses, conducted a large survey and made that data available. FIRE, F-I-R-E, polled 59,000 college students across 257 universities, resulting in a sample of 1,350 students, that's 2.3% of the 59,000, who reported having been homeschooled. While FIRE, F-I-R-E, is obviously most interested in free speech issues, the survey also gathered information on their religious practices, which Professor Berge, B-U-R-G-E, expertly analyzed. Some of the conclusions are entirely unsurprising. Quote, among college students who went to a parochial school, religious attendance is higher, end quote. But among, quote, homeschoolers, attendance was even higher than that. A third of college students who had been homeschooled went to church weekly, with 12% attending monthly. This is compared to college students from public high schools, which reported only 16% weekly religious attendance. In short, homeschoolers were 25% more likely to go to religious services weekly over parochial school graduates, and more than twice as likely to go to church compared to public school graduates. Burge noted that homeschooled kids were the most religiously active. While this analysis covers all homeschoolers, and Protestants are almost 4 times likely to homeschool, shame on us Catholics, there is at least some Catholic-focused analysis. Last year, the Pillars data, that's a website, The Pillar, their data guru, Brendan Hodge, turned his attention to the connection between homeschoolers and vocations. When looking at the education background of newly ordained priests, it's obvious that homeschooling is overrepresentative. Hodge notes that homeschooling seems to generate vocations at 3 to 4 times the background rate. Similarly, in order for the 3.5% of Catholic children who were homeschooled 25 years ago to produce 11% of the vocations to the priesthood and 14% of the vocations to the religious life, homeschool students would seem to have pursued those vocations at 3 or 4 times the rate of the general Catholic population. The percentage of Catholic families who are homeschooling is now likely twice as high as it was in 2000, which means that if trends continue, by 2050, 2050, 20 to 30% of vocations will be coming from people who are homeschooled. The trend showed up again this year with the USCCB reporting that 15% of the newly ordained had been homeschooled. Newly ordained priests, beloved, had been homeschooled, and that the trend was growing. An astute observer suggested that this could be adjusted higher due to homeschooling being much more prevalent in America. Quote, if one assumes that all of the homeschooled seminarians came from the United States, then 20% of U.S.-born ordinands were homeschooled. Either way, this is a significant and disproportionate impact, and it comes without the kind of heavy investment from the church that Catholic schools receive. Lots of different figures show various levels of church support for Catholic schools. As I've noted before, he writes, in my diocese, and he's in Michigan, families only pay 40% of the cost for elementary students and 68% for high school students. In other places, you'll see figures like parishes with schools contributing 35% of their offertory income to schools, or subsidies covering 20 to 70% of a school's income. I'm going to skip. There's a lot of this. You could go, if you can, to Crisis Mag, because I want to tell you something else. You can go to crisismagazine.com and look for the article on homeschooling. It's from July 7th, and it's very good. I'm scrolling to the very end of the article. Let me just read the last 2 paragraphs. As homeschooling continues to grow and homeschoolers have higher rates of vocations and faith retention, dioceses and churches that embrace homeschoolers could find themselves growing, at least surviving, while those who fight and banish homeschoolers find themselves dying. We would certainly benefit from more data, and it gives other resources. What I wanted to do before this half hour is over, dear ones, is offer, we have about 200 extra copies. 4 years ago, September 2020, actually that's 5 years ago, isn't it? Almost 5 years ago, we published an entire newsletter. Let me see if I can try to get this on the screen. An entire newsletter of our newsletter, Daughters of Mary, Mother of Israel's Hope, on homeschooling. And the cover has, it says, Jesus does not demand great actions from us, but simple surrender and gratitude. That is a quote from St. Therese of Lisieux in her story, Story of a Soul. And it shows on the cover, I don't know how to get this straight. Isn't that crazy? I don't know how to do that. Her book, not her book, but her little way of homeschooling. There's St. Therese. Can't get that in front of the camera. I don't know how to do that. I'm doing it backwards. Okay, there's our little saint. We have about 200 of these left, and I'm just going to give you an outline of what's in them. They're yours for free if you ask us for them. If you could send a donation for postage or anything else, we'll always be grateful for that. But that there's no requirement. You can simply send an email through the Station of the Cross, mother@thestationofthecross.com. You can also go to our website, motherofisraelshope.org, and click on contact and send us a direct email. All you need to do is say, Mother, would you send the newsletter on homeschooling, and give us your address so we could put it in the mail to you. And so what's in this newsletter is Pope Pius XI's encyclical on Christian education, the best that's ever been written to parents. And then I'm just giving you a bit of an outline. And of course, it's our own topic, teach, instruct, educate, train, discipline, school. It shows that we offer a book in here by Sherry Foster, published by Remnant, a Catholic homeschool, the Catholic homeschooling doctrinal practical guide, a practical guide to Catholic homeschooling by Sherry Foster. There's so much in here. And then there's a section after that whole encyclical and after all of that on how do I get started. I've never homeschooled before, and here's some objections. Oh, I could never homeschool my children. I don't have the patience. So we answer all these questions in this newsletter. I have too many children to homeschool. How could I teach different age groups? 3, I'm afraid I won't have enough time to get everything done. How will I take on this role of teacher, mother, and wife? Number 4, what if I'm not educated enough to homeschool? Number 5, how will my children be socialized or have experiences? 6, we answer all these in the newsletter. How do I organize my home? I don't have an extra room. 7, is homeschooling financially draining? 8, how can I put a curriculum together? 9, are there homeschool curriculums that are already developed and available? And of course, the answer to that is yes. 10, what resources are available to me? 11, are there online homeschools? 12, are there schools that are accredited? 13, does my child's homeschool need to be accredited? 14, do I have to enroll or can I plan their year? 15, if I homeschool my child through high school, will they be accepted into higher education if they want to go? 16, are there groups or co-ops that can help me with classes such as science lab and language, etc.? 17, does state law allow homeschooling? Is each state different? 18, what are my protections as a homeschooling parent? 19, will I be able to teach my Catholic faith? What if I don't know my faith well? 20, what if I work full time? What options might I have for homeschooling? And finally, 21, what are the benefits to homeschooling our children? Are there also benefits for our family? Nope. Here's 22. Are there other families that could homeschool my children? Okay, that's it. Let me just give you a quote here in the newsletter from Dawn Shelton. A teaching degree is to homeschooling as a culinary degree is to grandma's cooking. That means grandma doesn't need a culinary degree, and neither do you need a teaching degree. It just cannot touch the love, care, and personal standard that only a mother can stir in. Here's 10 lessons to unlearn for homeschooling moms. I'm not smart enough. Who am I to do this? Real learning has to look like school. What will the neighbors or relatives think? My kids are so unmotivated. I'm worried about gaps in their learning. Children need more structure. Compare and despair. Everyone's house is clean except mine. If something doesn't work out, I'm a miserable failure at this. These are all false, beloved. These are what the enemy would have stop you from homeschooling. Let me give you 10 benefits of homeschooling. We have a couple of minutes left. 1, more family. And these are from homeschooling mothers. These benefits, we surveyed over a dozen or 20 homeschooling Catholic moms. And this is from the moms, homeschooling benefits. More family time, more free time for your children to pursue hobbies and other interests, great flexibility, helps slow life down, allows your children to learn within the context of real life, allows your children to live out in an atmosphere where Christ is the center. Homeschool children have an easier time relating to people of all ages. Isn't that amazing? Homeschooling parents, people say, but my children won't be socialized. My goodness, I've never met so mature, well-spoken, free conversationalists than homeschooling children. I mentioned recently we had a mother-daughter tea with 64 people here, young ladies and their moms. And the ladies were mature, no shyness, no embarrassment, polite, respectful. Homeschool children tend to have a strong sense of self, a good work ethic, and less sense of entitlement. Homeschooling puts you in charge of your children's education and allows for a much lower student-to-teacher ratio. There's a foreword in this, in the book by Saint Therese, a book, a picture on the cover with Saint Therese called A Little Way of Homeschooling. And the foreword in that book is by Mike Aquilina, a tremendous Catholic author with a large family himself. And for those who may be starting on reading from the newsletter, late to homeschool with older children, some of whom may be less open to the idea, this book might be your answer. Here are a few responses to the book from readers on Amazon, beloved. After years of bullying at school, we finally tried homeschooling. My son's sophomore year, beloved. The first semester of strict curriculum was mind-numbing, boring for both of us. When his older sister tried to teach him, their relationship was almost destroyed. God used this book to save our family. Now almost 19, he is progressing well in his music career. He talks to us about everything, sometimes consulting, sometimes just informing, as it should be at this age. He participates at Mass every Sunday, and he volunteers to help with the musical productions at the high school that had been so miserable his freshman year. I would never have been able to let go of the strict curriculum, and we probably would have poisoned our son's relationship with us and Jesus if I hadn't stumbled upon this book titled A Little Way of Homeschooling. Beloved, write us and we'll put this in the mail to you. Our phone lines are wide open, and you are welcome and invited to call in with anything whatsoever on your heart. And the toll-free number, 1-877-511-5483, or email at mother@thestationofthecross.com. We have an email from Jack. He says, Dear Mother, I appreciated your kind words toward Christopher Columbus. Cristobal Colon, I guess is the Puerto Rico way to say it, Puerto Rico, since I am his direct descendant. I am his 18 times great-grandson through my mother's side, through Puerto Rican lineage. My goodness, how did you ever trace that back? That's amazing. I'm proud that he brought the church to the Western Hemisphere, and I'm proud to continue the legacy of being a devout Catholic. Good for you, Jack. Most cradle Catholics take the faith for granted, but I consider it a very strong honor to have a Catholic heritage. Good for you. I also have a Catholic heritage from my Jewish faith. That's our heritage, all of us. Our heritage is the old covenant that was revealed in the new for us and fulfilled in the new by Jesus. He says, I would like to join the Order of the Holy Sepulchre when I am a little older to continue this heritage in a strong way. God bless, Jack. Well, Jack, God bless you. And that's a very inspiring, encouraging, wonderful email. God bless you and keep you close to his Sacred Heart and the Immaculate Heart of Our Lady. Let me see now. We have an email from Marion who says, Hi, Mother. Thank you for reading this email. I was a Catholic as a child. I wanted to return to the church. My entire life, I've heard of the horrible atrocities committed by priests who are called to represent our Lord. Also, seeing the Eucharist being given by a layperson hand to hand almost makes me feel like the church herself has lost the faith, if that was possible. Well, you know what? It does seem like that, but the gates of hell will never prevail against the church. But here's beloved, someone that, hold on a minute now. Hold on a moment. Let me just get back to where we were. Okay, so you say, how do I reconcile the most beautiful worship and faith I've experienced with this evil? Simply, dear one, to know that Pope Pius VI was correct when he said the smoke of Satan has entered the church, because it is the church, and it is the one he's trying to destroy. He has tried since the Garden of Eden to destroy every work and people of God. And it is his doing. Let's see now. So the faith cannot change, but many have lost the faith. Bishops, priests, cardinals, many have lost the faith or have bought into lies or modernism, or they're cowards or who knows what. But the Eucharist should never be given by a lay person. I keep going back to the words of Bishop Athanasius Snyder, who said that only the consecrated hands of a priest should touch that sacred host. And the priest should put it on our tongue, not our hand. Even deacons should not distribute the sacred host. So it should not be by a lay person. And you say, how do you reconcile the most beautiful worship and faith you've experienced with this evil? Because it is the most beautiful worship and faith. It is what God gave. The evil is from man and from Satan, not from God. She says, the Catholics are mired in confusion after Vatican II. Absolutely, you are right. The Orthodox are so beautiful, but I'm Catholic. Please pray for me. Thank you. Much peace to you. Marian, the Orthodox worship, if you go to the right church, is very beautiful. It's closer to the synagogue. It's older than the Latin Rite, which we are in. But you will go to many Orthodox communities that have become modern, just as many Catholic churches have, buying into Novus Ordo. And so I've been, there's a Catholic Eastern, there are Eastern churches, the Catholic Rite of the Eastern churches, and you can go to them, Marian, without, number one, you can visit a Latin parish and you won't have all this debauchery and degradation. Go to a Latin parish in the Latin Rite, if you can, but you can also go to a Eastern Rite Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has 23 rites, R-I-T-E-S. Byzantine Catholic, Marianite Catholic, many Catholic Eastern churches. And yes, if they've retained the old, their true liturgy, it's extraordinarily beautiful. I went to a Ukrainian Catholic church years ago to give them a mission. And I've never had experienced anything more beautiful or more reverent in my entire life. I was attending the Novus Ordo then. I didn't know yet about the Latin Mass, and I came back to what seemed mundane and debauchery. So if you want to remain Catholic and you don't have a Latin Mass nearby, seek out a Catholic Eastern church, and it's Catholic. And if you don't know what Catholic rites, what Eastern rites are truly Catholic, you've sent this email to the Station of the Cross, so I'm going to guess that you have a way to get on the internet. Just look up Catholic Eastern Rite churches, and it will tell you which ones, and then just use the phone book to find them. Elizabeth from New York, are you on the phone, dear one?
Hi, yes, I am. Hi, Mother.
Hi, Elizabeth. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing good. My question is about the beach. We normally take our kids to the beach every summer, but we've had like little kids, toddlers, and now my son is about 5 years old. And so we've had this summer, it's been different. We've been speaking to him about averting his eyes if a girl is not dressed appropriately and things like that. Even though he's still young, we still just want him to know that he shouldn't be staring at, bare legs or anything like that. I'm not sure what your opinion is on parents taking their kids, specifically their sons, to the beach. I want to be the best Catholic mom I can be and shelter him and teach him virtue. But I know other people would say, well, you can't shield him from everything in the world. So I just wanted your opinion on that.
Good, Elizabeth. I'm just so grateful for your heart to want to do what is best for your child. 5 years old is not too young to teach him about modesty. The fact is, he has to look at those naked girls in order to judge not to stare at them. I wouldn't do it. I would never take a child. I wouldn't take anyone to a beach. I wouldn't go to the beach myself. I wouldn't do it. That sort of a modesty, it's sin. It's outright sin, and I wouldn't expose anybody to it, nor would I go myself. You can invest in a huge portable pool, plastic portable pool, the least expensive you can get. Huge, huge pool. And the whole family can swim together. Do you have a backyard?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Get a huge pool that you can fill with water. And that should be the beach recreation for your family. They don't have to be exposed to the immodesty and evil of the world. You're not going to succeed in having a 5-year-old or a 20-year-old or anybody keep their eyes away from it because you're surrounded by it. It's impossible. And then you look at a woman and say, how does she dare? A little striped bikini, and you've already seen it. It's too late, and it's all around you. You have to put blindfolds on. That's insane. I would not take anyone to the beach. I would not go to the beach anymore. I would simply get a large pool and have the family stay together and have lots of fun without any limits at home.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't think anyone else would have told me that, but I can always count on you to say what's actually true, not just what,
Good, sweetheart. Do you have, do you think your husband would go for that, to get a large pool for the backyard?
I do think he would. I think he would look at me like I was a little extreme, but if I explained to him, that I'm worried about our son and what he see, I think he would hear that.
But Jesus was not a little extreme. He was all the way extreme.
That's true.
You can't follow God and not be extreme in a decadent, evil society.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very true.
All right, sweetheart.
Well, thank you so much, Mother.
Thanks for your call, Elizabeth. Okay, let's see now. We have an email from Carol, and Carol says, Dear Mother, I was at a wedding last week, and the priest had everyone raise their right hand as he read blessings for the couple. This priest was ordained very recently. So was he taught this in seminary, I wonder? I have no idea. I hope he wasn't. I was at another Novus Ordo Mass in the past, and the priest had the laity do the same, raise their hand as a form of blessing graduation kids. I think that I remember Father Rippiger say that you should only bless those under your authority. I don't know if this is correct or not. I learned so much from listening to you. Thank you, Mother. Well, you can trust Father Rippiger, and you do bless those under your authority, and you don't do it by raising your hand over them. And you certainly don't do it as these priests have led in church. In order for you to give a blessing, say you to your children, you need to bless them physically, directly on their foreheads. You can't just put your hand over them. That's a priestly blessing. You have no power to bless anyone, a blessing from you to an individual that you don't touch, to do that. You can't do that. You can do it, but it won't be a blessing. That's a priestly blessing. Lay people have no power to do that. But you can bless someone under your authority on their forehead like that. You can do that. In fact, you should do that to all your children as you put them to bed at night. Pray with them at their bedside and bless them on the head. Keep holy water there. Okay. Let me see. We have an email here from Susie. Writes, Dear Mother Miriam, during the Mass, and more specifically during the priest's homily, we are asked to repeat the following. Priest says, God is good all the time. Lay people say, and all the time God is good, and that is his nature. Wow. Terrible. It's just terrible. I just can't stand all these things, Susie. I became Catholic from Protestantism, and now the priests are bringing Protestantism, and its foolishness into the Catholic Church. Susie says, I have now recited this before I have not recited this before in any of the Catholic Masses I previously attended. I did ask my priest, and he indicated this is a way to capture the lay people's attention to prepare for the homily. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If your priest was a holy priest, as he should be, he doesn't have to play games and foolishness in order to capture the attention of the people. They're not third graders. And you are welcome and invited to call in with anything on your heart, toll-free 1-877-511-5483, or email at mother@thestationofthecross.com. We're in the middle of an email from Susie. I'll read it from the beginning. She says, Dear Mother Miriam, during the Mass, and more specifically during the priest's homily, we are asked to repeat the following. The priest says God is good all the time. Lay people say, and all the time God is good, and that is his nature. Wow. End quote. I've not recited this before in any of the Catholic Masses I previously attended. I did ask my priest, and he indicated this is a way to capture the lay people's attention to prepare for the homily. Is this appropriate during the Catholic Mass? And I already said absolutely not. If that's what the priest has to do to capture the lay people's attention, I'd be afraid of his homilies. He's not in a kindergarten class. And even if he were, it wouldn't be the way to treat the Catholic faith. Susie said, it makes me uncomfortable, and I have not been reciting this, especially the wow part. I appreciate your insight and guidance. I would like someone to help that priest to mature and to become holy, because that's what will keep people silent. If he has to do something of that ridiculous, childish, and unholy nature, and inappropriate at Mass totally, to capture people's attention, he needs a little more instruction and maturity before he's a priest. Don't participate in that at all. Peter from Buffalo is on the line. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Mother Miriam. How are you?
I'm okay, sweetie. And how are you?
Good. Well, first I wanted to say I love you and thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank
and I want
you,
to let
Peter.
you know that I pray for you.
Oh, that means the world to me. Go ahead.
Okay. I hate to disagree with you. This is the reason I'm calling in. I'm in my car, and I just listened to the lady with the 5-year-old son.
Yes.
She was bringing, and people were dressed immodestly, on the beach. And
Yes.
you said, well, it's horrible, and you should stop going to the beach altogether and put a pool in your backyard.
Right.
And I feel like that's a little extreme, because there's a couple things. First of all, God created, if you love beaches, God created beaches in the ocean or lakes, whatever, and they're beautiful.
Jesus walked with his disciples along the beaches of the Mediterranean of Israel. It's all beach.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I don't think you should have to stop going to places because other people are unmodest. That's like saying don't go out. You should have just told that lady don't go out the front door, because at the grocery store, there's women that are wearing, or young girls that are wearing things that I think you shouldn't even wear out of your house. You know what I mean?
I agree with you, sweetie. But at the beach, they're, for all intents and purposes, pretty naked. And that's not an environment to bring your children into.
Child, the right morals.
What's that?
The child should be able to make the decision eventually. 5 is young, but they'll be able to make the decision
when they're old enough. If their parents raise them well, Peter, absolutely it'll be their decision, but not while they're under the parents' roof.
I still think you could bring them to the beach and teach them what's right and what's wrong and let them enjoy the beach. Because these other people are sinners and are dressing immodestly and it's tempting people, I don't think that everybody should be penalized and say, well, we can't go where there are people that are like that. Because not everybody at the beach is dressing half naked.
Well, most are. Most are, sweetheart. Most are. I've never taken a survey, but I'd say 95% at least. It's one thing to deprive them of the beach. It's another thing to get them used to sin. If children go to a beach like that, no matter the age, they're going to just get used to depravity. They're going to get used to nakedness. And they're going to get used to seeing it. They're going to get used to being among it. And they may not take it on themselves, but it's not going to be, if I burn my finger by touching a hot stove, the first time a child touches a hot stove, it takes time for the burn of the stove to travel through their nerves and veins and reach the brain, which is the one that registers the pain, because it's the first time. It takes time. And by the time the brain registers that it's hurt and the child takes the finger off the stove, it's too late. There's already blisters. It's already very burned. The second time a child would do that, it's a little faster because the pain has traveled that route before and the brain recognizes it, until it just becomes a matter of, I could put my hand in the fire. It's not a problem. We get used to it and we become dull to it. And it's okay. It's not okay. Well, how come it's not okay for you? Are your parents prudes? No, they're Christians. And we want to honor God. And Jesus walked on the beach, as did his disciples, and they weren't in bathing suits. The fishermen were not naked in the boat. We're in a degraded society, and as I said to Elizabeth, if they get a huge pool and have a family fun in there, they can also get another huge compact thing and fill it with sand. But they don't have to go to a place as degraded as the beach, where you see not just naked people, but making love and falling out of their swimsuits and all kinds of things that you don't want to be around, let alone expose your children to. Peter, I know what you're saying. Yes, you can go to stores, and if there's a particular store that the mother goes to and people are walking around in there in bikini tops, she should not bring her children in there either. If you go to a normal supermarket and your children come with you, you're going to see a modest dress, but it's not the display of the beach. That's where I stand, sweetheart. You can disagree, and I respect that. You can disagree. Obviously, more people agree with you than me because the beach is filled with Christians.
I hear what you're saying. It's just that I don't think that people should deny you from having to go. You're going to miss the opportunity of going to a beach if you love the beach. A pool in the pool in the backyard is not the same thing as going to the beach.
Even tons of sand is not the same thing as going to the beach. I know that. And if the children never go, they're not going to know what they're missing. They won't know what they're missing if they have a lifestyle that raises them at home and keeps them from being so exposed to such immorality. They're not going to say, I'd rather go to the beach, Mom, if they haven't been. And then when they're old enough and they've been raised truly Catholic and they experience a beach, they're going to think it's a horror movie, which it is, because they've been protected, not from being wise, not from the fight against evil, but they haven't been numbed by it.
Okay.
Okay, sweetie. No, don't. You may not convince me, and I may not convince you. It's just good food for thought. And I appreciate your call, Peter, very much, dear one. Okay. God bless all of you. There's the music for the end of the program. And God willing, we'll be with you tomorrow. And again, we have about 200 copies of the homeschooling newsletter that has resources in it, how you homeschool, what resources are good, solid Catholic resources, homeschool programs. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's got a lot. It's 5 years old, but it's got a lot. So you're welcome to email me and ask for a copy and just give us your address. We'll put it in the mail to you. God bless all of you. Speak with you tomorrow.
Aloha, everyone. This is Jason Jones for LifeSite News. We hope you enjoyed this video. For more content like this, check the link in the description. You can also connect with us on social media to stay up to date with the latest news on life, faith, family, and freedom. Thanks for watching, and may God bless you.